From the beginning of time, humans have always looked towards the sky for inspiration and guidance. There has been a fascination with birds, stars, gods, goddesses, and other entities which seem to exist above us, and for many humans, a strong yearning to travel into space. Man has dreamt of flight since observing space, and now it is time to become the space traveller. The future of space travel requires us to understand from where we came, to see where we are going.
Several thousand years ago, philosophers Mozi and Lu Ban from China were looking to the wind for flight. They invented kites using silk and bamboo, allowing for the later development of communication, measuring distances, testing the wind, and lifting men.
The invention of the kite brought with it the desire to fly. The first known attempts at flight were typically by leaping off towers, known as tower jumping. People in China, India, and Europe first attempted flight this way.
In 1670, Francesco Lana de Tarzi published a book that showed some interesting concepts. The concept of copper foil in a sphere with a vacuum would produce a vacuum airship. This is still not possible with today's materials. Francesco is recognized as the father of aeronautics, melding science and mathematics into aerial navigation.
The Chinese are believed to have developed the first hot air device. The Chinese lantern using hot air from a candle can take flight and was first used for signalling. The hot air balloon achieved the first human lift and advanced to what we know of as the Zeppelin.
The first attempts at flight in a heavier-than-air flying machine were made by more than just the Wright brothers. Most attempts failed, however, they were the stepping stones for what was to come later. The oldest airport, College Park, is still in operation today.
Airplanes evolved rapidly through the century, from propeller to helicopter to jet aircraft, and most of that technology is used today.
During the Second World War, Germany developed rockets that could go a limited distance. The basic rocket technology used then is still used today. The space race started with the Soviet Union and the USA in 1957 and led to many developments for the next step, the moon.
The spacecraft assigned as Apollo 11 was the first spacecraft to have landed on the moon. The space shuttle operated at tremendous cost. Burning the fuel proved to be wasteful and dangerous technology. The International Space Station, ISS, is a habitable artificial satellite that was assembled in low Earth orbit in 1998 with the use of the space shuttle. The ISS can often be seen with the naked eye from Earth.
SpaceX, as a private aerospace producer and space transportation services company, was founded in 2002 by Elon Musk with the goal of reducing space transportation costs and enabling the colonization of Mars. SpaceX reuses the first stage of their primary rocket, Falcon 9, by vertical propulsive landings. Although, up to present time, it still uses the rocket fuel burning technology. Mehran Kesh has always said, the time for burning fuels is over, but did we need to start with that technology in the first place?
Ancient cultures have suggested the use of an alternative means of transportation. With reference to possible plasma technology,
you can go to New York from Brussels within 2 to 5 minutes. And most of this 5 minutes is actually landing and getting up.
Mehran Tavakkoli Kesh was born in Iran in 1958. As the son of an X-ray engineer, he was introduced to the world of radiation and nuclear science at a very young age. In 1981, he graduated from Queen Mary, the University of London, as a nuclear engineer specialized in reactor technology system control. At that time, he developed a number of theoretical ideas related to more simple nuclear concepts and their applications. In 2002, he decided to finish the full design of his ideas about nuclear technology. This included the creation and control of gravity and energy by the use of nuclear materials in a clean and safe hydrogen reactor. Mehran Keshe introduced the concept of double magnetic fields to explain the magnetic and gravitational field of Earth.
Unknown by the existing scientific community, he wrote a number of scientific papers in 2004 and sent them for peer review, such as the creation of black holes. When one of the persons performing the peer review used his information in public, he decided to draw back his papers and to concentrate further on building prototypes.
Since the beginning of 2006, several prototypes of dynamic reactors have been built, some specifically designed to create hovering effects, similar to effects seen with magnetic levitation. Basic hovering effects have been achieved. 2007 brought the first flight test with radioactive material, in which the patents describe the process of the field interactions.
The main patent, Gravitational and Energy System, described the initial fundamental aspects of the plasma and uses. This was followed by the supplemental patent, Microplasma Reactors, where further uses and advancements were described. Mr. Keshe found himself in Iran in 2008 and was provided all the resources needed to create the first lift of a plasma reactor managed by the Iranian government. These special rotating gas reactors were used to control the plasma. To bring a deeper understanding, Mr. Keshe released the first book in 2009, The Universal Order of Creation of Matters, which contained many new concepts released to the public. This included the PMTIC plasma magnetic fields, initial fundamental plasma and plasma dilution technology used for space reactors. The plasma technology was further developed and it manifested in weight fluctuation in a controlled environment. 2010 introduced a new state of matter called GANS, an acronym for gas in nanosolid state. The GANS produces fields to be used in the operation of the spaceship. Advanced flight tests were performed in Iran with the guidance of Mr. Keshe and the newly designed systems.
Mr. Keshe tells us you can't bring all the doctors with you in space. Medical research advanced in 2010 and is still being explored daily all around the world. The Keshe Foundation has provided knowledge for dealing with many medical conditions in space.
A great example of plasma technology used for peaceful process is the capturing of the USA drone over Iran in December 2011. This drone was touted as one of the most advanced drones of its day, and was caught by Iran using plasma to disrupt the communications. Plasma absorbs fields, and the drone uses radio fields for piloting, a natural aspect of the plasma, a barrier of fields.
Book 2, The Structure of the Light, was released in 2011. This book brought forward the understanding of the structure of light as a cylindrical plasma where the light is in possession of all magnetic field strengths. Book 3, The Origin of the Universe, was published later in 2011. Mr. Keshe explained the further operation and interaction of different strengths of the same fields, which then leads to the creation of the universe. These 3 books bring forward a much deeper understanding of the plasma science that is applied worldwide by knowledge seekers and scientists in spaceship research and development.
There were 2 conferences to release the space technology to governments in 2012. The first international presentation in April, Keshe Foundation invited representatives of every country to the first presentation of the plasma technology. The second international presentation in September, Keshe Foundation invited the nations of the world through their ambassadors and their leaders to attend a gathering at the Keshe Foundation Center in Nenove, Belgium.
Space travel requires peace. The implementation of the plasma technology brings greater responsibility. In 2013, Mr. Keshe brought forward the World Peace Treaty. Signing of the peace treaty is a confirmation from yourself to your soul to act correctly in a peaceful manner.
In 2014, knowledge seekers came together from around the world to learn from Mr. Kesh, and many different experiments with reactors were performed, including improving the previously developed reactors to fit with the new knowledge, introduction of nano-coated reactors, multi-core GAN systems. The Spaceship Institute lab experiments were streamed live on the internet for all to see. SSI lab tests with reactors showed strong magnetic field pulses up to 129 Tesla and showed significant weight fluctuations. In December, an experiment was performed using reactors built by knowledge seekers from around the world. Italy, Germany, and Canada were involved in field communication tests. The tests showed that fields can interact with each other no matter the distance or time, resulting in instant communication.
In 2015, developments for space continued with different aspects of the plasma technology, such as in health, energy, and decontamination. In October of 2015, Mr. Kesh taught a popular week-long course called the Blueprint Teachings about how to build the MAGRAV power units. People from all over the world participated with building their own MAGRAV units and teaching others. With the demand of the Kesh Foundation products from all over the world, a new research center and manufacturing opened in Arizona, USA. Many developments of the technology happened in different parts of the world, and Kesh Foundation USA is no exception. John and the team started performing experiments using different sensing tools. These tools allowed the team to visualize the MAGRAV fields and to show others their interactions. With reactor formations showing positive results, partaking in the knowledge together is easier and more joyful than ever. The fun has just begun, says MT Kesh.
Mr. Kesh publicly teaches the space technology through the weekly Knowledge Seekers workshops. Plasma enthusiasts from around the world participate in gathering the knowledge and putting the puzzle together in the space race. All people, irrespective of race, nation or religion, are invited to participate in the exchange of knowledge, thus assisting humanity to live within the ethos of the universe. It is recognized that international cooperation and peace is a prerequisite for mankind to journey into deep space. Individuals and nations are invited to come together in the spirit of collaboration and unity to enable peaceful application and the use of plasma technology for space travel, food, agriculture, energy, transportation, health, and more. We are excited to release the Kesh Foundation Spaceship Blueprint to humanity.
Welcome everyone to the 267th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, March 14th, 2019. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute and is part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond and I'll be one of the hosts today. And as usual, we have Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, and he's available as he has been in the last 266 Knowledge Seekers workshops. And I believe he's ready to go with today's teaching and information. Okay, Mr. Keshe, are you there?
Yes, good morning to you, good day, wherever, whenever you listen to these Knowledge Seekers series of teachings. This is going to be one of the shortest teachings. I said good day, good morning, and I say goodbye. Thank you very much for being here today. I think that's the shortest sessions we ever had. On the other hand, what we've been looking at in the last teaching and in the last few weeks, we keep on building on the same basis, step by step. And I hear a lot of people say, we don't understand this part, we don't understand that part. So as usual, today I let you start with the questions and we try to fulfill any gaps or your wishes of you to understand more about this technology, the way. We don't go too fast, but we don't go too slow. But if there are any questions today, first we try to answer. And then we go back to the teaching and add to the knowledge at the same time.
Okay.
So starting in 1 hour, we ask the question now and then we take a break in 1 hour.
Okay, and I'm assuming that you want to keep the questions relevant to the teaching that you've been doing in the last workshops. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and I'll remind the attendees, we have quite a few, that you can put your hand up and then we can make you available to ask your question. I see we have a panelist that's ready to go here. I bet he has a bunch of questions. John, would you like to introduce yourself and go ahead?
Yeah, this is John from Arizona. Thank you for letting me ask a question. Hello, Mr. Keshe. How are you?
Hello, Mr. John. Why did you imprison your flying machine?
I unchained it, so it's not stuck to the ground anymore. So I was thinking about this, and I think I know the answer, but I want a confirmation. Is it possible for one person to create a spacecraft and that spacecraft could be made big enough to carry 100 people one day and then 25 people the next day and then disappear the next day?
But with all 125?
No. So one day the ship is a large craft that can carry 100 people.
Yeah.
And the next day it's a smaller craft that can carry only 25 people. And then the next day it's invisible, or it's...
Yeah, it's possible. You still have 100 seats. You have 75 seats free.
But it can't be changed in size.
Shrink it, you mean?
Shrink it, yeah.
Yes, you can do that. Keshe Foundation in space system in the coming time, very short coming time, will be totally involved in the space program flights. As you know, as I told you, I'm resigning from Keshe Foundation. All the works and commercial side all has been settled now. In the next few weeks, I'll be totally concentrating on the space development and spaceship flights in conjunction with governments. Again, back the way we did like with Iran. And we'll be totally on targets of what we call commercial flights of the spaceship. It's part which it's what I enjoy to do, and now after a few years being away from it, I'm going back to it on the full-time research. And in that process, creation of the spaceships and the space programs as size, dimension, intensity, all will be part of it. Don't forget, we have already achieved this some years ago. Now we do it in conjunction with public and government. And you can change it to any size you like. You can make it one-man band, a spaceship, and you can make it 1,000. It doesn't make much difference. The weight is irrelevant, because once you create that encapsulation of the fields, whatever is inside it, it has no relevance in the mass and weight, because it's there. The only thing affects in respect to the other things is the strength of its fields. When you look at the matter state with the interaction of the gravitational field, then it comes to play. But when you work with the field strength and you understand the current flow within a plasma and the magnetic field pressures, then you can extend or reduce the fields. This is part of the technology which I've never thought, and it won't be taught in a way till some people understand it or we use it in the space system. It's very, very, how can I put it? The Chinese system has it, but was never utilized fully. The Chinese flight system was set especially to be able to extend field forces and to retract the field forces. If you look at you have to bear with me till I get my whiteboard. If you look at the Chinese space system, it has a belt and it has 3 core space. This belt, it is not only for creating fields, is by the strength, once it's controlled, allows this to be filled in or diverted. By controlling the field forces at the equator, we can expand or reduce. So what this technology of the Chinese system has is built in is a specific internal systems which pulls in conjunction this back and forth. There's a specific design in this Chinese system that is for tenting, what we call opening a tent for more people, reducing the tent for less people. This design is part of its design control. Those who are involved in this flight system, they know exactly what is, how the structure of the central rings are set up. That by a reduction of the fields here, we get the fields increased here. By increasing these fields here, we push the fields outside. There's a specific structure in the Chinese system, which in the Iranian system we don't have. This is what we do, we bend it in, we curvature it in. But curvaturing this one in by going there, you don't have much. This is your boundary. You control it with the other set of rings, the structures inside, that the strongest feed the weakest, or the weakest feed the strongest. So when this is changed, this boundary moves back and forth. I don't know if you have a picture of the Chinese system, we have shown it before. This is the characteristic of this thing. So you want 25 people, this is it. You want 200 people, this is it. You want 2,000 people, this is it. This still comes back to feed itself. This central line controls the expansion. It's like an arrow. We pull it in, we close it, we release it. How we feel control, this was part of the design of the, what you call, Chinese space system. And then we can control if it's there when you have the system. When you have the system here, you've seen it as a big tall thing. We could get rain here, water drop, where the rest of the system is dry. So we can decide what even the water drops to be produced inside. The Chinese system is very elaborate. We take it to its next step very soon, because with non-motorized systems, we don't need the motors, and this is part of it. Or you can do by the plating, the plate which was underneath, you reduce or increase it, it still can allow the same, because these reactors control and interact with these central line. The adjustable tent for the first time was tested on the, what do you call it, on the Chinese system, south of China. But the knowledge seekers are not aware of this, but this is how it was set up for tenting. Yeah, I don't know. Rick, do you have a pictures of it? Be shown it a few times.
I'm not clear on what that one looks like or where it came from.
Let me see if I have some.
I'll look around a bit.
Oh, just wait 1 second, please. I have to. Just 1 second, please. Where is the Chinese right? I hope I haven't lost it. I'm gonna find it first. My system. System equals. Okay. No, I gotta go. No, I can't find it. I don't have it on this phone that I can transfer it to you. But what it is, you have a the star formation, and then you have a ring formation. You've seen it flies with a high speed. We control this. We can expand this because of the system which is set on this plate. It's not just a road. I don't remember. I can't remember if you you remember the fast flying systems. I don't have it on this system, unfortunately, on this one. If I had it, I could show you. You could see it very directly. So you control it through the central line to increase or reduce this belt. So this expands by getting pulled in the fields, or this creates a field that this expands out, so you increase your tent.
Thank you for that explanation. That's what I thought. That's what I thought the answer was. I just want to confirm it.
Are you on track or off the track?
Yeah. Can I ask one more question?
Yes, you haven't paid your fees. The next one. Each question you have one. John, can you show us your chain down reactor? Is it flying yet?
So what's happening with it is we're getting a lot of vibration, like it's ready to do something, but it's clear that it needs to build up the fields is every time we interact with it, like we go in there and we measure the strength in the morning or whatever, then it's like you almost have to start over. It needs to be left alone.
You come to that point. This happens during the sunrise and sunset, and it's easier not to get or come close to it. It builds up and it dies off in the daytime or nighttime.
It's like our body. It's like our body
drains the system.
Drains the system, exactly.
Yeah, you got to stay away from it, but it changes during the day or night.
Mm-hmm. We're definitely getting a lot of buildup of energy if we leave it alone.
Yeah, but I think you have to increase one of the materials in your outer core, and you should see flight. Because these vibrations come due to fields trying to balance each other.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, no problem.
My second question has to do, you brought up in one of the teachings about the cup of life, about the nano coating process. And you said that perhaps some of the people aren't doing the nano coating process to its ultimate capability by doing the one caustic bath. Is there more that we're missing with nano coating you'd like to expound upon?
Not really. How you nano coat anything, any material, is I call it determination and patience. And if you have the patience, you achieve a lot. But if you don't have the patience and you just want to see something black, then you don't achieve much. And many of the Keshe Foundation team of work people, knowledge seekers working around this thing are often impatient. They have to have it black and that's it, let's go. You know, I always tell what's the difference between a Jewish businessman and a Muslim Jewish man. Muslim guy has no time to sit, he's running to make money. The Jewish guy sits down and think, and then he makes a move. To be a nano coat, to get a perfect nano coat, to get a perfect GANs from a nano coat, needs patience, needs time. Nano coating is a black hole. That's why it's black. Do you know how many millions of years takes the universe to create one black hole? You guys just done, let's run. And it doesn't work that way. If you, I was talking about this in one of the teachings in this week, I think, if I'm correct. You see, if a lot of you, and I've said this many times before, you get the material, you put it in a caustic, and you create some black things, and you're happy. I've got nano coated. And then you drop it in a gas, in a salt water, and you produce some gas, you're very happy. I explained in teaching this week. Take your time, let it grow, let it grow, let it grow, let it grow. It just grows. And this, it becomes like a powder. You see through the gaps. It's a fluffy thing. And what you do, you wipe this out and you throw it aside. This is no good. This is the first layers. It's like, as I explained teaching, it's like dirt in them, you know, when you cook a meat that comes out. This is the beautiful nano layer you can work with in this section. Even the GANs of this is very different than the GANs of this. And to get this fluffiness usually takes me about a month or two. It's not done in one day. You need to have the patience of God if you want to achieve miracles. So a lot of you are happy with something black, and I put it there, it turns white, I call it the CO2. The color change from black to white is become the fascination of these teachings. You do not listen to the extent of it, you don't understand what differences it will make, what beauties it brings, how beautiful it will be to be done this way. Just 1 second, please. Noise coming from the other places. Sorry about that. The whole process of nano coating is being as patient as God has been. You get beautiful. You can do miracles. You make a nano coating, and then you make a gas, and you need 100, let's say, gram of gas. I do the same thing with 10 gram of it. You hardly achieve any progress sometimes because your GANs is not mature GANs. Where I work and I achieve, many other people do. When you make GANs is the story of the guy who discovered the penicillin. You know, he tried everything, didn't work. He had a fight with the wife, went out, left the home. And when he came back, he saw it and he understood what it was, and he made the penicillin out of it. So is that the story? In his time, I was told yesterday, people get a material and put it in a glass of GANs, cold GANs, and it goes black. There's 1,000 different ways to make it. But what do you expect from the GANs? What do you expect that nanomaterial to give you? You make a CO2, 1 gram of it gives you 2 centimeter diameter fields. I make a CO2, I make a gas, the same material, the same material, up in the core, I make 10 meters out of it. I can produce everything from mine, and you say it doesn't work. I was talking to a guy this morning. He says, Mr. Kesho, a lot of people say, you know, what you do is this and that, because they all wanted to make money out of the Keshe Foundation business and made the nano coats, and it didn't work, and it doesn't show because they don't understand. What you want to do, what do you expect to do? I've seen people put materials in the caustic and in the pressure cooker. Waste of time, throw it to the wall. Anyone makes nanomaterial using pressure cookers, you see some effects, but you means you haven't understood. Go back and become a chef. Nano coating needs space and time to grow. How can it do when you put the pressure on it in the pressure cooker? Just it goes black and it's shiny, it's very good quality. My foot. The left and the right, they don't work. It means 90% of people who do these things have not understood. You're making an, I know in one of the research, Keshe Foundation researchers, they bought, if I show it to you, it's like a cooking class. They've got pots and pots, and they don't understand. You cannot make nanomaterial through pressure cooker. We have a kitchen making all kinds of soups with the pressure cooker, and just because it goes black, it becomes nano. You have a material here which is getting pressurized back on itself. How can you get this to get the performance from it? You seal the top layer and then you let it cool. It cannot do the job. You sealed it, you closed it. As I said, soon I'll open one of the cooking classes in one of the Keshe Foundation research centers. I had a picture, I was laughing my head off the other day. I'll show you, this is beautiful. This is not just you knowledge seekers who make these things. It happens in the Keshe Foundation. Our people themselves don't understand these things. I have opened the kitchen in the research center. It's amazing. I'll show it to you. It's wrong. But what do you expect to produce from this material? Let me find it. You will see it. If I get hold of it.
Mr. Kesh, I think I've got a picture of the Chinese reactor that Flint found. Do you want me to show that?
Show that until I find the Keshe Foundation
Okay.
Research Lab kitchen. We open the kitchens. Yeah, it's not the first one, huh? This is one of our research centers. I have to click it and do work with it. And it's the same. I don't understand. What can you do with this kitchen? What is the purpose of it? And
do you want to show that now, Mr. Kesh? Do you see the image that I have there?
I'll send it to you. Yes, just wait one second. Let me open the Keshe Foundation Kitchen Nano Coating. You're not the only ones. We have our own people, the most knowledgeable people. And there's a row of these things. I call it the Keshe Foundation Kitchen Soup. Or let's call it kitchen. I'll send it to you. It's on your safe line. This doesn't work, and our students don't want to understand. So it just does something. Just one second. I'll send it to you that you see the picture. Where's your picture? Hey, it goes back. It doesn't want to go out. It's very shy of itself. There we are. I'll send it to you. You can show it. This is not typically to do with you lot. It's the way it is. This is a soup, kitchen soup. Pots, cooking. Okay, you see this here. I'm gonna get this. You see this system here. I'm gonna make a thicker line. I'll make it blue that you can see. You see this belt here? This belt is, I think, 32 or 36 revolving balls. Each one balls you see here. These balls, as they are rotating on the axis, they are rotating fast around the system too. But inside the system, there are mechanisms set up, other systems set up that will pull this back and forth. By placing these base units to create a separation between the Earth and the system, we have locked this in very nicely. So if I could expand this to say somewhere here, I create a magnetic gravitational field flat, which means the passengers can walk into this space. You control your size. The Iranian space reactors were very hard to control in this way. Because once we achieved certain parameters, we could reduce it or whatever. But the Chinese system is much more flexible. And it has a characteristic that always, doesn't matter where you put it, the condition is determined here. If we could expand these legs and move it up and down, we just make a dome with hundreds of people in it. I cannot close this. How do I close this? Now you see it. We can expand, we can close, and you control it from inside.
Mr. Kesh, we had a question in the live stream about that control, and it's from Freed, and he says, Is the captain of the spaceship the one who will decide on the size of the spaceship, or can a collective field of the passengers be initial to allow a bigger ship? Be initialized maybe to allow a bigger ship.
What do you mean by that?
Well, is it an individual captain of the ship that determines the size of the ship, or is it sort of automatically determined by the collective field of the entities involved that are in the ship to be in it?
The captain decides.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
We talked about it last week. If you have 100 captains in the back, can they collectively override the captain in the cockpit? No, cannot do so. This is you will see this part of the parameter setup.
We have another spaceship question.
Yeah.
From Saeed. He says, good morning, my name is Saeed, originally from Tehran, Iran. He has two questions. I'll ask the second one first because it's the spaceship question. Question is for spaceship reactors. For higher speeds, more than 10 times or 100 times the speed of light, since there is a lot of friction between magnetic fields and reactors, would we have problem of heat? Or like what you showed us in your reactor, a cooling coil that could cool down reactors, or do we need other means?
No, there's no such a thing.
That cooling coil he mentions was that you showed in the later workshop last week, I think it was, or the week before, was for the motor, the electric motor of the reactor, wasn't it? To keep it cool under the vacuum condition?
That is totally different. That's an old-fashioned system. That's old system.
Right. So
we don't have that anymore. And secondly, now we're going into non-motor systems.
Mm-hmm. So there wouldn't be necessarily friction between magnetic fields or problems with heat and that kind of thing.
You drain it. The system drains itself.
Mm-hmm.
You see, we got to. This is what we. Why don't I get sharing? Okay, back where I was. When you have your system, there is a upflow chimney effect. And then you have a downflow. With your space systems up to what you had, what you built up to now, you don't have no control. As they come in, they build up. With the introduction of the system, as we've seen with the Chinese, now we can control this and expand it. So there is not much field left to interact inside the system. In a way, you blow it out or you capture it in. It's very easy. So you don't have any field interaction as such. These interactions here, there is a small amount. It's like what we have in our atmosphere. Atmosphere is not just the wind which you feel. It's thank you very much, Jamila, for the news. There's a magnetic field flow. We look through the daylight. It's trillions lines of fields through this from you to the next building. Gravitational pull fields, magnetic field of the Earth, the inertial field forces. But we have used to, we adapted ourselves to be able to move within it without affecting us as such. the space of this planet is not just the wind and the light. Even the light is on the magnetic field. You think the field just passed somewhere? You got the gravity, goes through us, is within us. It doesn't create heat, partially it does, but it's very, very minimal compared to our other parts. The fields are continuously in every direction and position, but they don't create heat as such. I'm hoping to restart the research in space with the Iranian government very soon. And
Hello, Mr. Keshe, are you still there? Guess he said one of the magic words, disappeared. Hello, Mr. Keshe, are you there? I see your microphone's open, but I'm not hearing your voice. Hello? Still not hearing you, Mr. Keshe. Hello? I heard a little bit of something there, but I think there's a bandwidth thing happening. Not hearing you yet, Mr. Keshe. Hello.
hello.
Yes, hi, we hear you now. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I had to change the server. Which part didn't you hear anymore? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you're breaking up a bit, but we can hear you. Can someone help me with that? What was the last?
You were talking about Iran. So
Yeah, that's right. As soon as you mentioned the word Iran, suddenly we cut
I'm
off.
not supposed. Okay, it means we are not supposed to talk. As you know, we are fully monitored nowadays.
That was the magic word.
Yeah, but we start collaboration with different agencies for the development of the space program. And we will show very extensively in how the, what you call, I have a big problem in controlling my board. In a way, what we're going to do is I get back involved in the space program with a number of nations, Iran and other governments. And our aim is to unify the space program, the spaceship program. These parameters and these testings will be on it and part of it. And hopefully we should be able to achieve a lot. We hope to have the Americans on board with us soon and some other nations. Any other question?
We have Saeed had his hand up here and he can actually talk. Maybe he would like to ask more about his question.
I'm trying to see how I can get rid of this board. Do you see the writing in front of me?
No, it's just been erased.
Yes, somehow I have a writing questions.
Oh, writing? Oh no, we don't see.
open. Yeah.
We don't see writing. What is it about?
No, you don't see it because it's blocking my board.
Okay.
Uh,
Stanley just came in.
okay, I've seen it. Okay, I'm out. It's okay, no problem. Let's have the question.
Okay. Saeed, do you want to go ahead? Not able to hear your microphone right now. So you're not able to hear your voice. Can you check your microphone connections there, Saeed? Go into the Zoom preferences and maybe select the microphone. Okay, well, while he's arranging his microphone,
can you hear me now?
Ah, yes, go ahead. Can you say who you are and where you're from and so on?
Yes, my name is Saeed Mirdamadi. I'm originally from Tehran, Iran. And before I ask you my question, Dr. Keshe, just wanted to say Happy New Year for next week, which is Iranian New Year, Wednesday at 10:58, 27 seconds, Italian time. My question to you is that one of the Iranians that has reached or researched your work from beginning was familiar with your teachings and innovations. He mentioned that if we know the molecular structure of a plastic, we can make magnetic for plastics. Could we use such magnets to clean our oceans from microplastics?
عید شما مبارک خواهد بود. خیلی
ممنونم.
Years ago, there is a video somewhere where I use two magnets to attract plastic. What we call plastic, we can make the magnetic field of it. This is part of the achievements of the Keshe Foundation, which in the coming time, as I go into space program research, I will release the technology for capture of plastic. If we don't capture the plastic, we in a way create a field. You got to understand the principle of it. I'm so glad I'm going back to research. Oh, it's a beautiful time it'll be for it, because this time I've done my work that I can do. You see, you have a CH bond with all the plastic. Somewhere there is a CH. There is somewhere, in some cases, or in some cases, very rare cases, we see nitrogen. There are chain of connections. Mainly we work on this. There is a way, the same as which you created, if you remember, the copper and nano-coated zinc, yeah, which you created the carbon here, which you extracted the carbon from the environment. This carbon of a plastic has a specific characteristics. It's a very specific characteristics. So in the same way, we can produce a field which matches only the carbon of the CH bond of the plastic. We will release massive amount of hydrogen and carbon into space. We will see a massive increase in water levels. In the systems which we develop this, for example, we see the water rises quite rapidly. You will understand, you will see this. It's very possible, it's one of the easiest things to do to get rid of the plastics in the oceans or whatever. And the plastic is a simple. Rick, can you go on Wikipedia and open the CH carbon bond of the plastic? All plastics, all of them, have a specific strength carbon with them. We produce the carbon here. We created a magnetic field, plasmatic magnetic field of the carbon. This we can do so. All you need to do, you need to create the GANs of this copper, this plastic. You can clean up the planet in no time. What you need to do, some of you will do it very soon, you will understand. You want this plastic to be eliminated. You want this plastic to be opened up. You want to extract this plastic. You make a GANs of it. You have to use in the right way. I referred to this in a very, very nutshell a few times, and I just stepped back from it because this can cause other problems. That's why now we open a Pandora box. If you go back to the Coca-Cola bottle, you have a little nudge there and you have little things here. The screw head. We see this screw head goes and we see this open up. If we have to develop the technique to be able to dissolve plastic here and here, so we already had the answer, but knowledge seekers don't look at it. We already have managed to open up the plastic. It's not something we are looking for. But if you manage to, if you understand this, you can develop very simply, make a caustic of the plastic which you want, make a GANs of it, and then you know what to do with it. You can extract any plastic. It opens up, it's been done, it's one of the first thing magic bottle. And I always refer to it and nobody sees it. Now we're expanding into bringing this technology into that level. Cleaning up is not a cleaning up, and we will produce plastics which we can dictate. We give you, I was discussing this with one of the knowledge seekers recently, very, very recently. I think last week when we were somewhere on a trip, you make a water bottle and you give this water bottle 12 months for the water to be drunk. After 12 months, you take this bottle away. All you've left water on the floor. Dating it, because in this plastic we can embed plastic which we can recall through the system. Or there is a possibility in the coming time as a system machinery is that we throw our plastic in the boxes and we open a gap there. All it is, nothing left in the box, it just opens up as a gas into atmosphere. This is we already shown. I don't understand how knowledge seekers don't look. If you go back, we always said in all the teachings that the bottle and the little nub in the bottom disappear because we take the hydrogen to create deuterium and tritium and hydrogen atomic. And so the carbon is moved. But how do you open the box? Again, there's a carbon there. And if you remember, when the IMAC did the test, they confirmed carbon layers in here. So it's very easy if you understand this process. It's already been done. These are part of the things which I'll get involved in very drastically in the next few months now that I'm handing over everything to the Keshe Foundation management team. One is this: there is a lot of agricultural land cleanup, water decontaminations in a massive scale. Most probably will start in Italy very, very short time. We'll announce it in coming days. I hope we'll achieve that to be done. And these are part of it. Understanding what you want and what you want to remove.
Mr. Kesh, I have an article on, it's called Polymer Degradation from Wikipedia, which could be interesting in that regard. And also, we had a good discussion in the Kesh Plasma Reactor group yesterday regarding plastics and how to use fungus and mushrooms as part of the process to break down plastics.
You use a plasma technology as a mushroom and all suck it up?
Well, that's the thing about it. If you combine mushrooms with the CO2 and other GANs technology, you could grow super mushrooms that would be able to do their work very rapidly, I think, and probably be happy doing it.
I reckon if you do it properly, you can, like an aircraft, fly over these oceans of plastic and just convert them to hydrogen. You'll capture a lot of CO2s and you create a lot of gases. Fishes will grow much faster.
Right, yes. And it'll take out the toxics and things that might not be so good for living creatures. Okay, so let me share the screen here. Okay, this is the, there's a couple of different pages. This is one of them, polymer degradation. And it mentions polymer degradation is a change in the properties, the strength and color, shape, and so on of a polymer.
Can you push on that polymer, please? First line is a blue thing called polymer. First line on the top. You go further forward.
Polymer.
Yeah, open that. I don't know.
Well, polymer is a large molecule or macromolecule composed of many repeated subunits. Can be both synthetic or natural polymers due to their broad range of properties, and they could be like polystyrene and DNA and proteins as well.
Yeah. That's why our body is elastic. Huh? Part of it is because we have a polymer structure in our muscles. Stretches.
And the skin.
Yeah, everything. Anything which stretches has a polymer structure in it because it can pull itself. But if you look at all the polymers, if you look at the plastic, if you open nylon or this plastic they use for bottles and bags, it's part of it. I've studied this this plastic business for years, going back to early 1980s. Because you see, it all has a CH bond, all of it. This is, you see, you have a CH bond there, and it's different combination of CH gives you this polymer. And if you can make gravitational magnetic field, which you already know how to make it with the gases, once you disable this one, the whole thing falls apart. We already know the technology. You have already produced it, you already done in the Coca-Cola bottle. You, as knowledge seekers, you have the knowledge to make magnetic field, plasmatic magnetic field of any element in the universe. And if you go back to some of the teachings, you can remove pieces from your body. If you still got a shrapnel in the body, you can remove it without any operation. It's been done. You make magnetic field, gravitational magnetic field of the element. Why do we ask in the cancer processes with the space technology, we don't look at these all little things? This is gonna be immune system is up, your immune system is down, this is this, blowing us up, everything is down. We don't look, we go for the material increase, physical material increase in the body of the man. Now we see where it sits, what's the cause of the cancer, and we can remove it. Plastic is not a problem, it's the easiest one. And it's been done, and we talk about it a lot because it's the easiest conversion from hydrogen. If you're after hydrogen, these couple of plastics. When I was in Iran, we wanted urgent some creation of hydrogen, a specific hydrogen for a flight system. I asked Caroline, can you get me some plastic Coca-Cola bottle heads? Poor woman went everywhere getting hold of plastics, head of the Coca-Cola, chopped them in pieces, and I received 2.5 kilos in Tehran. It's very easy. You can use the hydrogen for your flight systems. Once you break one of the bonds, it's over. The whole thing falls apart.
Okay, we can go maybe have a look back at the degradation of plastics page, which had...
we solved it with the plasma technology. What you need the degradation?
Well, that's why
it's over.
They have different ways of... Well, the thing about it is, how do you, like you mentioned the bottle, the Coca-Cola bottle, that's a caustic environment, and we'd have to, create a caustic environment in the oceans, and they're already turning acidic. So,
oh my God, Mr. Rick Crammond, we're going back to teaching classes. Okay, let's go back to the grammar.
You're gonna say to use.
We go to the nursery. Start from basic. Okay. We go back to basic.
Okay.
Okay. The basic tells you, in a very simple way, you need maybe 20 grams of caustic. Yeah? You maybe, oh my God, what is happening now with this thing? Okay, maybe you need 20 grams, let's say 50 grams of caustics, yeah? You get some plastic, the one you want to extract. You use the Keshe Foundation kitchen, and you put some caustic and hot water on it. You're gonna get what? I'm waiting.
Well, you'll probably get some hydrogen and
plus some of the bits at the bottom.
Some carbon material.
Yeah, whatever.
It will break down the plastic. That's a technique for breaking down plastic. Yes.
Yeah, okay, now you have a material
Cans of plastic.
Good morning, Ahmed. How are you?
Very good.
What'd you say, Armin? What plastic? Sorry?
Cans of plastic.
Cans of plastic. Okay. Got it.
So now you place your cans of plastics. And then what do you want? Bob's your uncle. You extract, you put a bottle here, you extract, you create the fields of it, and then you can do it. Put a submarine at the bottom of the sea floating and then plastic on top of it, and one up here, All change to nothing if you want to do it that way. Or you put, you see, the problem is we moan about the plastic and people collect the plastic to make money out of it. You go to African nations, you go to other countries, people search for plastic bottles in every bin because it's money.
But yet plastic bags are a major problem in Africa, apparently, and they've had to ban them in some places because they get left all around the countryside.
They're everywhere. When you go on the beach in Accra, they just come in, bags of it just floats in.
Right. And the other thing is the nanoplastics is the really big problem that in the oceans. It's so small that you can't even see. It's in every single drop of ocean water now. And how do we deal with an entire ocean?
We can't do. Sorry, we've gone too far with it. You know, when the plastic bags came out in the early 1980s, very, very late 79, 80s, plastic bags appeared in the market in a massive way. And till that time, we had the paper bags. Everything was paper. And when it came into the market, we saw problems at that time. I used to have a packaging company in England, and we saw the problems. We could see that this thing doesn't get destroyed. It wasn't good for packaging businesses like ours because paper bag was used, thrown away, and there's a next one. Plastic bags are put in their pocket and come shop with it again and again. I couldn't sell more. And I looked at how we can get rid of these plastics. And when you use specific fields, you can open up the carbon on it. But there is a very, very big problem with this polymers. Some of them are at the strength of the protein, the carbon bond.
Good morning, Mr. Cash.
Good morning, Dr. Azar.
Good morning. Mr. Cash, Arman is here. You see, when you talk about the nano coding, there's a YouTube with Arman teaching us how to nano code. So he tells us to one day, 24 hours, you do, you put it in the water, and then the next day you do the steaming. So that's how we learn. So what is the kitchen soup?
You see, Arman, you better explain what it means.
So I learned from Arman.
Arman is a 7, we call him born in 7 months, half my hair. With Arman, everything has to be quick.
Actually, no, that's how we learned that way, so why are you saying that?
With Arman, everything is fast.
You teach that.
If you
that, and now you're saying it's me, huh?
I do, when I do the nano coating, I leave it there, and then the steaming process is a different process for expansion. It's not for making nano coating. It's 2 different processes. And we don't put under pressure. Steam coating is very, very different than what you call pressurized system. When you steam it, you allow it, it grows, but you don't steam it in the pressure cooker.
Got that picture if you want me to show it, Mr. Kesh, of the
Please.
Pressure cooker.
Oh yes, yeah, we're looking at the Keshe Foundation kitchen.
Mr. Cash, also, if you take the zinc and put it in a caustic for a month, at the end you have no zinc, so you cannot leave it.
You don't put it for a month. No. It doesn't work that way.
How many days?
If you do it properly, it just grows. It doesn't disappear.
You weren't talking about zinc anyway, Mr. Cash. You were talking about copper, correct?
Copper.
It doesn't matter. If you want a nano coat, how many days we leave it in the water?
If you put the aluminum, it's 1 second, it's gone.
It does matter, Azar. It does matter what material.
Depends what material you want to use.
If you go to the video, it says at least 24 hours. You know, some people, you know, they can do it fast. You know, it's 24 hours. At least you can leave 24 hours in the water. Then take it.
There is ta-da, kitchen. We make nano coating soup. But this is wrong. And many people do this. Because you destroy, you pressurize back into the layers you made. You want to make it as a sponge as possible, open it up.
But without any air in between the layers, you don't want it too spongy, right? Like that it flakes off, like some of the fire coatings that we see.
It just grows up naturally. Layers build up naturally.
So I have a question about this. You say that pressure would not be good, like what we're seeing in the pressure cooker, and that makes sense. So would a partial vacuum condition be more enticing to those nanolayers? Would that make it better?
It is one of the absolute best ways to do it. We've done that. I used to do it in Belgium in the lab. The nano coating you create in the vacuum, it creates a very different structure. And I taught this in one of the private teachings, and the Russian government scientists understood and they used it. It has a specific application.
And would you have to keep that under a vacuum condition for it to keep its properties, or would it would it collapse under the normal atmospheric, or would it retain it?
When we used to do tests in Bruges, in Belgium, we had access to one of the most advanced vacuum systems. We used to create vacuum above vacuum condition in the space, much deeper. And we used to test this. I tested the nano coating, even on the vacuum condition, is very, very different. And the gases you get from it is totally different. Let's put it this way, if you take one of the nano structures of your copper, gives you the energy of, let's say, 100, you take one in the vacuum, it gives you 1,000,000. Even the space of the field opens up. That's the reason for it. This kind of vacuum nano coating is used in some of the most expensive motorbike glasses. With these different shades of motorbike glasses, you see, what they do with it, they put the glass in a vacuum chamber. They bombard it with nitrogen gases, which creates a lot of indentation in the glass, and then they bombard it with nitrogen, with hydrogen, or different colors that they want to create that shade. And we tested this. We took the hydrogen from the, what do you call it, or nanoparticles from the metal. A lot of research has been done this way. I have it. I used to show it. This is in one of the boxes, I think, in the lab. You see it. We went testing into ceramic, how far deep we can touch into ceramic. We bombarded with the nitrogen, because nitrogen is a big atom, And then after bombarding it, ceramic, we then release nanomaterials to settle in it. It creates a space colors. It's not the normal colors you see. I have that picture on these things somewhere in the archives. You need vacuum. Russians have taken this much further. I enjoyed because I had to go to authorities to explain how the Russians have used my technology to do what they've done. Because they used it to change materials worth pennies into thousands of dollars. Literally with no cost. But they understood my work. And I've given underwriting to them that I do not disclose. The Russian scientists in vacuum space technology nanomaterials are very, very advanced. The machine we use in Bruges is made in Ukraine. It's the Russian system. Europeans, the Americans can't even touch it yet after 40 years.
Mr. Cash, so nanocoding is just like raising a baby. You just don't take a baby and stretch the head or the leg and get it grow fast. You just nurture it and feed it, and it takes 18 years until it becomes 6'5" or something like that.
No. Definitely you're a woman, definitely you're a mother. It doesn't grow that fast. You create a space gap that it can expand into its environment, and the higher the strength fields opens up. That's what it means. If you go back to some of my teachings, I always say if the space doesn't exist, the field, the solar system cannot expand into it. It can expand as much as the other fields allow it. When you put a gas in a room, the shape of the gas dictates, the shape of the room dictates the volume of the gas. This is the shape it's going to take. In the plasma technology, the shape of the plasma dictates by other fields around it, not its containment. That's why when you have a gas passes the wall of the ball. If you put a gas in the ball, the wall of this ball that's it. This is limitation. Where with the plasma, you pass through it. The only containment of it is other fields which are stronger or weaker from it. It's the lack of understanding and knowledge. So when you create a nanoparticle, how much room you give it to expand, that single nanoparticle can become a solar system. If you allow the fields of it to open in a big field. It's part of the space technology, deep space floating. And if you go in one of my teachings, I've said one atom of hydrogen can cover a solar system or a universe. That's what it is. If there is nothing to hold its field, there is no boundary to it. Where in a gas shape, in a matter state, the shape of the containment holds it. It cannot penetrate beyond it, but the plasma penetrates through its containment. That's why we can see flights. That's why we can see day and light. Because the physical boundary of the Earth does not trap the magnetic gravitational field of the planet. It's a matter state, it's much weaker, it just goes through it. This is why in the teachings always refer, when gravitational magnetic field of a plasma reduces in strength, then become matter state. Because if it was higher, the gravitational magnetic field of the Earth could not pass through it to create its position in respect to the sun or its rotation. Very simple. The knowledge is not understood, so it creates mayhem. If you have a nanomaterial, you can allow it to grow. Then you create a field for it. I think we had enough of this kitchen soup, please. Kitchen facilities, if you can find another picture.
Sure.
Yeah, we have plenty of soup done. So this is what we need to understand.
Mr. Kesh, it's Sándor from Budapest, Hungary. May I ask a question regarding the containment of fields of GANs? Specifically, I'd like to ask about CH3. From Dr. Rodrigo's presentation, we have learned that persons with growing tumors should avoid the fields of CH3 because otherwise the CH3 would feed too much the tumor. So what is the safe way how to keep CH3 GANs if we have it in our apartment?
No, you see, you have to understand what it means. The CH3 is every part of your life. Your body is made of it. Your body functions through it. You have to understand what it means. We don't throw all this. No, you need the CH3 should not be used inside the system, which is a GAN system for cancer.
So not used in patches, not used in reactors. But
when there's always no way, because you provide a carbon-14 and carbon-12 to it.
So recently I removed from our apartment several liters of CH3 GANs to a storage.
It's totally irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant. Because these are plasmas, body takes them if it needs them.
Thank you very much for the assurance.
The CH3 in a gaseous state is a plasmatic condition of the universe. When you connect it with the amino acid in like a patch, then yes, you locked it in. But we live in it. Everything we touch, which breathes, carries in it. From the plants to animals to everything else. So if that was the case, your spiders in the house should be the size of a dinosaur very soon. It doesn't work. It's not there. You have to understand the totality of the knowledge. The tumor grows for a specific reason. What is feeding it? And why the space of the body allows that the space for it to grow into. How come it dictates the size and shape of our bones for our life? It doesn't do anything. It doesn't allow it to grow. So you have to understand how things grow in the body.
Thank you. I keep learning.
Oh, I'm still learning. I'm still knowledge seeker. But I seek the knowledge of universe. Matter state is very easy. Any other question? Somebody asked me once, where do you go to school to learn all this? I said, I go to the School of Universe. I'm still a student. The master of the knowledge is the creator. Any other question?
Let me get my participant list up here again.
Mr. Kesh, I have one question. You go to the class of the universe. Can I come with you?
We don't allow women. You have to speak to God. God is a man. Sorry about that. No, it's understanding the work of the universe. It's not easy, but you have to be independent and very open to knowledge.
Thank you, I understand.
Mr. Kesh, Arno has a question here, had his hand up. Want to go ahead, Arno?
Hello, Mr. Kesh, and everyone. I have a question, and I think the the answer will help Sandor in his quest. When we look to Sandor's workshops, he has all the Ganses together in one room and sits in the middle. And we saw in Golden Gans, when there are too many Gans, it creates ice without freezing, more than 100 Gans. And maybe Sandor said puts the pots just there to keep it. But when I saw my Gans, I connected with all the Gans and I give it a rotation. And I think if you don't use your intention when you put the Gans down, it's going to react in its own way. And then maybe the gravitational fields can give Sandor the wrong energy in his neck, because he's sitting with his neck in between. So I was asking, maybe you can explain something more about that.
That has been passed on to the doctors of the Keshe Foundation. I'm not the doctor.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I keep myself especially away from this discussion because the knowledgeable people, medical people, are handling this case. And this is a very straightforward.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you very much.
It was because I saw it already in this teaching that it was with no intention. You don't store Gans.
Yeah.
You have to store it and give it to purpose. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
very much. Any other question?
Just having a look here. Oh, there is one question from Danielle in the Q&A. How can we identify a GANS as magnetic or gravitational? What about the magnesium GANS?
Every GANS is magnetic and every GANS is gravitational. It depends on strength in respect to its position. And as soon as knowledge seekers learn this, we have jumped a big hurdle. You can change a flow of the fields towards you from magnetic to gravitational. It depends how, which fields you position. I thought, my God, I thought there'd be a lot of questions about the soul. And
well, we got that's right next, Mr. Kesh. Be patient. Bente has a question. Mr. Kesh spoke about the structure of the soul. What is the structure of the soul?
Mr. Kesh spoke about it. So the soul structure is an interaction of the fields. And in what density, in what strength they interact with each other. It's not a house, it doesn't have a control system, it doesn't have a computerized system running. There's a very interesting question I'll put to you, and then maybe it directs you to a certain path. You sit and you start a conversation and you speak. This is a question to all the knowledge seekers, and if you find this, you find answer to a lot of things. Let's say you want to tell a joke, or you want to tell something, describe something. What makes you, which part of your brain and with the interaction of which part of the fields of the body of the man decides on the word, decides on conclusion of the joke or the work, decides on the path the word you're going to use, decides on everything in that conversation. And in which part of your conversation you decide to insult, you decide to be cheerful, you decide to be lovable, you decide to be rude. That in the mind of the man, the position, the shape, the color, and the sound and the pattern of the voice which comes out of the body of the man transfers all that emotion in a sequential way that makes sense to somebody else. So the question is, where, in which part of the brain of the man you have already thought the whole length of the joke or the length of the discussion before you open your mouth? Where do you actually go repeating it, this is the sentence I want to say before it comes out of your mouth? Or is this sequentially comes out without you, let's say, thinking? Or do we have a part in our body which puts the whole question together and then it releases it and it comes out of you with this because you are expecting the answer? If you understand what I'm trying to say. How do we make a sequential noises with emotion that comes out of our mouth? We have trained it, and then you understand what I'm telling you. Or does the brain think, puts this is what I want, transfers it to the what we call the voice box, and the voice box puts it in the sequence with the emotion added to it, and your voice, good morning, I'm very sick, I'm very happy, I want to laugh. Did the brain decide, or is there a structure in the voice box of the man which carries emotion with it, which transfers the emotion of the soul, the soul of physicality, that when it is tuned, you laugh and you shake your hands, or you cry and tear comes out. How does the voice of the man, the sequential system of this noise, connects itself with the emotion, and it can connect itself to the other emotion of the body of the man? This is part of the teaching of the last week, which I said, if you take the emotion, the soul of physicality inside the soul of the man, then you travel with it. But how do you separate this? How do you, what do you understand from this point? If I shout with the voice at this level, everybody will panic. But did I make the decision of the shouting, the voice I use in my brain, or the emotional feeling of the reaction of the people to such a noise is passed to the voice box, that the voice box creates that emotional voice, that it fits to the other people's emotion? Do I already read the soul of the other people, that the physicality will behave this way, and I create the noise for it? Or do I actually, with the emotion of the soul, have already created that? The noise is something which comes out for nothing. How do we decide on the sequence of the words which comes out of our mouth? Or do we have a section which does everything? Now what it is, it's just a batch work, huh? If man understands this, you are one step closer to releasing the soul of the physicality to be part of the soul of the man. As I said, you make your voice to be tearful, and the emotion of the tear will come with it. But the words has decided this is what is going to be, or is it the emotion has decided on the word? What about when we talk without emotion? Through the soul of the physicality, or is it through the soul of the man? Because this is important, that when a man decides to become man of space, how and the way he will look will decide. And if, let's say, the shake or the leg has a fear, you travel with the leg left behind. Because the feeling of the fear in the leg does not match the joy of the breast to travel with you. Suddenly you get, we say in English, butterfly in your stomach. The physicality goes in the stomach that stays behind because it did not match the structure of the field transfer. Or would we leave different bits of our body in different part of the universe as they go through different emotion compared to the emotion of the soul of physicality and the soul of the man? Oh, I left my stomach on planet Zeus and my leg is still in planet Zeus. When they feel the strength of my emotion traveling here, they'll join me, would they? The question is how and where in our physical body or in the soul of the physicality we dictate on the voices, the noise which comes out of our, what we call the voice box, that creates us the emotion of the feeling with the noise which is made. This is one of the pitfalls of the man who wants to travel into space. That you can take all parts with you, and can you speak to all parts? Mr. Leg, can you come with me? You're happy with it? Very good. Mr. Toe, left side, would you like to come with me? Very good. Mr. Thumb, on the right side, I'll be going, or you start panicking here. But who decides on these are parts of the remnants of the, what I call fear of the man, of his own device. If the man goes one step beyond that, that he knows he's controlling everything, in a way he's in charge of totality, then man can separate or bring the soul of the man into operation of the soul of physicality. The question goes back, how do you make sentences and how do you attach emotion to it, and how and why you expect an outcome from emotion, the voice of another person? Or is the soul of you with the soul of the person you're talking to need to transfer the knowledge on the dimension of the soul of physicality to the dimension of the soul of the physicality of the other side to understand? I shout, you shout. The souls already know there's a shouting game gonna come. Any other question?
Yes, Brett has a question, and if he wants to go ahead with it regarding the bottle. The bottle, I think, is the way he pronounces it. Go ahead, Brett.
Very funny. But the button at the end of the bottle. Could you please explain that? I could give my own explanation as to why it is there, but I don't know.
It's a production failure compactness.
Would it have anything to do with? Okay.
It's the end where they inject the plastic in. If you look at it. Or is the side where when they inject the plastic in, that's the bottom end that everything comes together.
It's not it's not a piece of copper.
No, no.
It's a button, an actual button.
Yeah, it's a plastic hard piece, I call it a button. Buy Coca-Cola bottle and try it. There's something little like a little knob at the end, a little nudge. And that nudge, through the pressure in, we always find out is one of the second places which opens up.
I still don't understand.
Yeah, there's a collection of plastics at the bottom of any bottle.
Yep.
Is known as the bottom of it. That's a button. There's nothing else in there. Something very interesting, if you have ever observed, is that nanomaterials cannot be soldered to each other. It's one of the impossibilities. You can solder the two metals underneath and then roll them in nanomaterials on top. It's very hard for many parents. Or to understand this, I'll explain this in depth, is when you have a wound, especially on the skin of the young skin, than the old skin, heals much faster. Why? It's because of the nano interaction, a strong interaction that creates that. The older we get, this field strength, it goes up to lower and lower strength, and it takes longer to interact. Then, if you understand this, then when you get these Coca-Cola bottles in your hand and you make a nano, whatever you made the parachute, you make nano coating on it, when you see the tip is gone, if you touch the thickness of the plastic around the bottle in the middle, is very much different than when you started it. So you already start converting, as we say, part of the CH3 bond in that direction.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Understand more about the button.
You start with 0.0, let's say 8. When you finish with your caustic is 0.004, but we never pay attention to it.
As it deteriorates.
It doesn't deteriorate. You convert the carbon, you extract the carbon.
Yeah, it just gets thinner and more brittle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Mr. Kesh, it happens when you put the current onto parachutes.
Oh, really? I haven't tried that.
It happens in every direction you do it. When you put a current into it, you create a flow.
Yes.
It's I never put a current into it. I usually just connect wires. It creates its own current.
No, when you do with the batteries, the bottle.
Yeah, no. You can go further. If you put a very high voltage across these parachutes, you see the molten metal inside it floating.
Wow.
But it never leaks out, it stays in. You see through the whole of the nanomaterial, you see the molten metal inside. Any other question?
Yes, we have Marinez with their hand up here. Somebody else with a question as well in line. Marinez?
Yes, sir. Hello, everybody. Hello, Mr. Cash. Thank you very much. Sir, I wanted to, in the answer of what you asked about when we talk with certain tone, who is who orders this? I think we have probably DNA and RNA with the brain and the nerve system and the filter of emotion, which controls all this together. I mean, as far as I understand. And then if somebody goes to space, do we take our consciousness with us? Or is it kind of diluted consciousness we travel with?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Consciousness means like the experiences, the knowings, the good or bad things, the consciousness, the awareness of.
You mean
me.
the consciousness? We take everything with us.
Wow.
Nothing is left behind.
I think. Yeah, but
We are a collection of knowledges which is transferred into his recording disk, what we call RNA. Or our body carries that information.
so we take it with us
Of course.
everywhere.
We have left it behind on rent, yeah. It's part of what we carry.
Oh, okay. So when we die, is it the same thing?
Same what thing?
Like when we die, we take our consciousness or diluted
It's
form of
part
it.
of the knowledge which we take with us.
Part of the knowledge of who I am.
This is everything, yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. And what if we get afraid up there?
The same.
And,
Sorry, too late. It's a one-way track, unless you decided before.
but is there any control machine? Like in here, we have the emotions that signal that they tell us where the danger is, what to do. Naturally, is there anything like that?
Depends. You will learn very soon. We all learn from it, and we build on it.
So it can be kind of natural response for humans also to go to space.
It is as natural as you were born from the womb of the mother in the water.
Thank you very much. So no need to be afraid when the times come.
Why should we be afraid? It's a joyful time. I always say I'm shaped to be in the body of the man because it carries too much pain, but as I said, it's a responsibility except we have to fulfill. Jailing a man is a habit of the man, but body is never jailed in. It decides the point of transformation.
Right. So we are kind of bigger than what we want, that's what we think. Like our conscious is wiser.
Good morning.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr.
Any
Kesh,
other?
I have talking about this. This is what I think I understood. I mean, not here, but when we are in this body, we have this duality. And for example, when we have, we see things like good and bad, or when we get fearful, there's this part of us, we say, oh, don't be afraid. We kind of talk ourselves into not to be fearful or be positive. But when at the point of death, when we depart, that duality is taken away. So at that point, if you're in fear, you're going to enter that world with the fear. But if you're in grace and love, you enter with grace and love. So because the duality is taken away. So we have to be careful when we leave this world, how we live. Am I correct?
Before you get married or you have a girlfriend, you never make this kind of mistakes. When you have a partner, everything is a mistake. We decide in what and how we approach things in respect to our souls. And nobody else can dictate on it or decide on it. There's a very big question, and I'll put that question to all of you. Is the physical life which is tangible to us actually real? Or is it the collectiveness of energies which their interaction creates some flaws, which we call it emotion and the rest? But in reality, is this life, physical life, real, or is just the interaction of the fields in given a structure? Some time ago, I wrote a very simple, more or less one paragraph, few line about the mankind. Is the mankind is kind enough, or for this kind of man? Is somewhere in the text which answers a lot of questions at this point. I don't know if any of you have it on your ledger somewhere. And if you read it, it explains a lot of things in respect to the soul of the man and the physicality of the man, and respect of the soul of the physicality in respect to the soul of the man and other souls with the man. Do you have it, Rick, somewhere?
I'm just looking for that now. We do have it in the wishes, the public wishes, I believe that Caroline brought it up. So let me just look for it here.
We have to understand how much we know and how much we freely share, that by sharing elevates the soul of the others. And in that process, by sharing elevates your understanding of, you have elevated the soul. So you need more to elevate more. I was in a meeting very recently and something strange happened, but it's part of whatever. We were sitting with the scientist, a specialist in certain fields, and he was saying to another man, I am a specialist in his field, but when I listen to Mr. Kesh, I understand how little I know. And in fact, is not that point of understanding, it's understanding that the knowledge shared is elevated the man to understand that he needs to know more, and that knowing more helps the others because he becomes knowledgeable for it. And this is what is part of the work of the foundation. Unconditional sharing and giving to, because somehow it comes back. It's a sieve which is only inwards, but we throw out as buckets and it sips in more. This is, as I said,
I have it here now, Mr. I have it here now. Let me just get that set up.
Would you like to share it and read it?
Yeah.
This tells a lot about the man. Wrote this one about a year ago plus. And it was given to the Universal Council members.
Okay, let me just make it a bit bigger here. Okay, that's good.
Would you like to leave it? Is that a whole lot of it? Are you there?
Yeah, it's not actually complete, I see. I got this from Eva, but it's clipped on the end. You need to have the complete. There we are. Got it from someone else.
This sums up more or less the position of the Universal Council in respect to the man and universal community.
Not working. Just a second here. We have to get it in a. Oh, there we go. I have to share it differently.
We see a lot of alphabets.
Yeah, it's some other link. Let me reshare here. Okay. Yes. I'll attempt to. It's a little tricky, so normally Carolina does this because she's aware of it. I'll give it a go. Okay. I love mankind as long as the man is kind, and is kind of a man I love. Maybe love of the man is this kind, or man love to be kind? Or do I have to be in love to be mankind? Maybe this kind of the man I am to live and love, then surely I am mankind. But are you mankind, or from another planet calling yourself this kind? M.T. Kesh.
If you look at the last sentence, last part of it, it means the existence of the others who transform themselves into the shape of the man, and then they learn about loving like man. And if you look at the other part of it, it tells you a lot. Because loving and being mankind is connection of the soul of the man and the physicality of the man. It is very much, if you read the first and the last, is connection between the soul of the man and the soul of the physicality of the universe, universal community. Then we ask ourselves, do we understand this transformation and the connection between the two or the three? The soul of the physicality, the soul of the man, and the soul of the universal community, understanding the totality. Here, man is as a mankind, don't look as a woman and a man. It's it's, if you understand, in a very simple way, we speak about the interaction of the three layers of the fields, which leads to the manifestation of the physicality. Now that we understand more, would or is this three layers of the fields interaction, which is the soul of the physicality, the soul of the man, and the soul of the universal community, lead to the manifestation of the physicality of the creator? So are we part of the physical existence of the creator? Because with this we create the three fields which needs in dimension to lead to creation, manifestation of the physicality. But the question is, if it is, then who is beloving this physicality of the creator? Why has it manifested itself in physicality? For whom? Is the creator part of a lover? Or is it created to love itself, to lead to creation of? We said the skin of the man is made of the three layers, which their interactions of the similar. So when the soul of the man, the soul of the physicality of the man, and the soul of the universe, community or universe interact, but the same law has to lead to confirmation of the existence of physicality. Of what? Except the dimension of the creation. So we are part of it. We are one of the layers that through this confirmation of our own soul, we confirm the existence of the physicality of the creator. I made man in the image of myself. As the man is part of it. What is in macro is in micro.
I had another question that came up to me, Mr. Kish, on again. When we put the fields of our soul into our creations, do those creations then hold those fields forever, or do they dissipate the energy fields of the soul? And is it like we're creating a child, if you will? Do we have to put our energy fields in and then nurture it every day, or it wilts on the vine?
We forever emit fields, and we forever create light, and interaction of our existence leads to creation of other lives.
So, for example, our GANs then would have a, when we put the energy fields of our soul into it, they operate in a different way.
Of course they do. You see, John, it's what I mentioned before and something writing to you before. You lock down your reactor for the reasons you understood. You didn't want it to escape. But is it, or could it be, that if you could understand the field forces within that system, which is the existence dynamic, in interaction with your soul of you or the emotion of you which is connected to your soul, would you be able to cause it to lift and fly? Or would you be able to take from it that it calm down? You have given it a point of reference with a black motor, black reactor, but you haven't actually given it life in the right side from where it comes, where it's the creator of. Are you afraid of that thing flying? That you're holding it back? Success is too much.
No, no, no.
Why did you lock it down then? I said, my God, if I was you, I'd try to go faster. You make it on the floor.
Okay, that's what we
It
did.
won't fall. It won't fall into the center of the earth. It might get absorbed into it. But this is, I understand, but I'm trying to raise another point. You see, that again is another fear, it might fall. Why not that I wish it to fly and hover? It will not fall. The problem with these reactors you're building is that they have a dimension of physicality restriction, which is that copper motor. If what you were doing some time ago, or other knowledge seekers are doing, these balls should float. Very simple. Give me 5 seconds. I get every ball any of you made fly. Any star formation from the Chinese, from the ones Arman has made for 5 years, for the ones you made, for the ones anybody made. 5 minutes, you'll fly. Every single one will fly.
By putting the energy of your soul in there?
In one way, but you have to connect it. You don't create a potential difference. You don't create the current flow. Every reactor I've seen, every single reactor Arman has made, you made, anybody else made, is capable to fly. And sometimes they do what you do not want it because I was talking to a knowledge seeker yesterday. You don't believe in what you do. How do you expect it to be? You don't have the trust in yourself to do. The trust of the success leads to failure. Any reactor, any system, any star formation, any single ball. Listen to many of the recordings when I speak about the flight system in Tehran. I could dictate the condition, the position, direction of the flight of the smaller ball. Any systems you made is flyable. But you have the chain of the physicality, which is the copper. And that copper in a GANS state, because it creates a field flow, creates a connection with your physicality. It's you who has chained it and you want it to fly. It does not, it will not do. And if you understand that and you can make the non-motor system, which is getting on some research, and still do not get it done because there is the perfection leads to the failure. This is what we have to understand, and somehow it doesn't fit into our structure. The many physicists, theologians walk away from the confirmation of existence of the Creator. Why? How many of them we know? if you speak to many, many scientists, when they see people of theology or advanced physics, they say, do you believe in God? No, I don't, because I see everything is physical. But when you sit and watch, the confirmation of physicality leads to confirmation of a system which keeps it together, which has to have a creation, condition of creation. The day I can take away the fear of failure of success from mankind, mankind will fly. You put a doubt into it because it's ingrained you. This is how this planet has chained the man to himself. I give you so much that you don't look outside. It's like a lover. Huh? I give you everything you want in the house. You don't look for anything outside. You don't need to go to a restaurant. I'm a very good cook. I cook everything for you. You just wish it. I chain you. The love of the soul of this planet has chained the soul of the man to itself, and it does not go. It's the man who has to understand, I still love you, but I have to go and see more. I wonder when, if go through his demise, it releases the soul of the man from says, you my children, look, go, you are free, because if I go, you go with me, and this is not the way it's gonna be. Would then you all find freedom to interact with your souls from the dimension of physicality? Do we need to get to that point? Then it goes, what kind of man are you? The last man standing? Or chained to the soul of this planet? We find any excuses, but we don't find the key to it. We don't understand the key to it. And it's hidden in all sorts of ways. It's like, as I said in one of the teachings recently, in the Christmas song, or the Christmas whatever, in the books of in the Bibles, was written, there were 3 Persian wise men who brought the gift. Because the Catholicism, the Christianity is written on the basis of the Iranian Zoroastrian faith. The 3 wise men brought the 3 gifts. It's the Zoroastrian is Mithraism. We say Kerdanik, Goptarenik, Pendarenik. These were 3 gifts, and all of it is to elevation of the soul of the man to the physicality. Talk good, do good, think good. That was the 3 gifts. And men have just gone with the boxes now, the 3 gifts, which was the soul of the physicality given to the man. When you enter a Zoroastrian temple, when you enter the Zoroastrian schools in Tehran, on the top of the door, there's a bird with a wing, which is a man. On one side it's written, Goptarenik, Pendarenik, Kerdarenik. Think good. When you think good, you don't change. And this is a gift of the life from the soul of the man, soul of physicality, to the soul of the man. We're still waiting for the 3 wise men to come from Persia. He came. We never understood the message.
I think, Mr. Kesh, the roots of the word good is God as well. So it's
a good God, huh? Oh, God is good.
Or good God.
There's one only thing.
Mr. Kesh, talking about the trust, this is a real story happened. I tell you, there was a 9-year-old boy. He was just recently happened in Iran, and he was in a contest, like a music contest. And the contest was supposed to be on like Friday. They were like double, 2 boys together. So he calls the mother on Thursday. He says, Mom, can you please buy 25 of those Persian and cookies that we have in Iran? We want to celebrate. And mother says, you haven't even done the contest. It's on Friday. He says, I already won. I know it. So then the next day he goes to the contest and he wins it. So he has so much trust in himself that he's going to win, though he won't.
You got the, now you can imagine how hard it is for me. I trust the mankind will join the universal community, and it's 7 billion of you lot. I'm sure I'll win the contest at the end. It's
you have to phone the bakery to order 7 billion copies.
No, we have to find the 7 billion souls. This is part of the work of us understanding us. It's part of the structure. The process of life is very simple. Man separates it and then divides it and then finds an excuse for every division to exist. Then he runs into a problem. Any other question? We're going nearly 2.5 hours.
Yes, let's see. I don't see any active questions. There was one question from Danielle. Is there not a phase change in the copper structure under temperature and pressure? I don't know if that's appropriate right now. Is there not a phase change in the copper structure under temperature and pressure? That was having to do earlier with the idea of the pressure cooker and creating the nano layers and so on.
I already had that team in the workshop telling me off what I put that picture on. It was just to tell the others, don't make the mistakes. You don't see what I get on my mobile phone. I get all comments. But this was shown to tell the others, don't make the mistake. So, you know, whatever I do, there's always somebody complaining about it. So, but on the other hand, it's good. At least we have enough confidence to show our own mistakes and don't hide it under carpet. That shows our strength, not our weakness.
Yes, we've always been very open and open for, sometimes it's a bit of a surprise in the things that come up, and not always in a good way. But we've been totally open, and that's what really distinguishes this whole process in the last, 5 years of workshops.
15 years of my work. I sat in a meeting today, and I listened to the person, and when I listened to the end of the sentence and what he was trying to tell me, I said to myself, it's amazing how openness and correctly openness leads the others to defend you. The discussion was about the Keshe Foundation and our international image or national image. And because they're aware of everything which has been openly discussed. So when people tell them things, they already are aware that this thing exists because of this openness. This is what I explained. We had two choices, and somebody in the number of people in the Keshe Foundation have a lot of problem with me, and to them is justified. why Mr. Kesh talks about the politics, why Mr. Kesh does this, why we do this. If we take the path of sharing the knowledge with the governments and the leaders, as you saw with the USB stick we gave it to the governments for 2.5 years, none of you saw it, it was all hidden till we opened it, you would have never received it. You would have still been in the same dilemma as before, because governments will hide it till they can make something out of it, and they give it to all the scientists. The other approach was to share the knowledge at the grassroots. Every man, woman in the kitchen, scientists, everybody who had it, that they would bring the technology up, the way all of you have done. This teaching and this opening of the pattern and this openness of the knowledge was well calculated. And at the same time, our contact, our position, our interaction with the world leaders, with the governments, with people of influence was kept at the same time. You pushed from the bottom on the grassroots, the teaching, the testimonials, everything else. We taught you at the same time to bring you up and keep you there, but at the same time we put knowledge in the hand of the government. And now, after years, the two have met. For government, they know they cannot hide the technology because grassroots has been taught. For people in the grassroots, they know the governments know, the governments have to do something with it to keep the grassroots in position. So that was a beautiful way to do it. 5 years, 10 years of continuous conferences, teaching every Thursday. I was calculating today. If you calculate, I taught for 12 weeks, 5 days a week, that's 66 hours a week, 360 hours of teaching, non-stop, from the grassroots of the teaching. John came to Italy for 1 or 2 days. He sat through the course more or less. Because this is what technology is. This is what sharing of the knowledge is. And many of you get trapped. Why Mr. Kesh does all these things? Because we have to come to change the whole thing. Now the governments have to realize mankind, them being part of it, is ready for change. Because the grassroots knows we cannot hide it anymore. This is not Christianity and Mithraism, that we have to model it somewhere that we can control it. Those of you who are familiar with both you understand exactly what I'm talking about. The rulers of Rome believed in Mithraism, a god which didn't, had no physicality, but the people of Rome were worshipping statues. But they knew the top guys believe in something else. When they found Christianity, they brought it in grassroots. They wanted to push this. Now we found something like you lot you have. We believe in God, in Christ, in something else, the Holy Ghost. Then they had to find a compromise. They brought racism in the name of Christianity. That's why we have this mess called Catholicism. But we didn't go this way this time. This time, we taught the grassroots the basic fundamental of the knowledge, the interaction of knowledge with the soul of the man, and we told the governors, people know you have a choice. Join in because you're part of it, or they take the knowledge to the next step. Then you have no room to rule. Because all these people on the top you see as governments, governors, leaders, they all get sick. They all have blood pressure, they all have everything else, like you people at the grassroots. Who helps? What helps? The knowledge of the technology. Then they become a man. Many, many people have a problem with me interfering and working with the governments. You don't understand. I taught you at the grassroots. they have to come to you. Then it becomes a peaceful nation as one nation, because we are touching the soul of both sides. We didn't choose the government for the man. You chose your own government because you need him, because your taxes got to pay. You go sick, you want your children to be educated. You can't do everything yourself. So you select the people to do the things and you pay for it to be done. But nowadays it's gone a little bit far with different things. But the technology has been taught as a grassroots. I've touched the soul of the man at the bottom. They learned from Iran to South America to Spain to North Pole. Every color and race and religion practices the cancer protection because they can see they do something. If I need, if I've got a patch, I'll put it in there. If I have this infection, is there. And it doesn't mean you have to do it every day, but now you're gradually applying it in all the dimensions of the life. And the world leaders are the same, the rulers, everybody is sent up. They go sick at the end of it. Mr. Keshe, do you have something for this? The most powerful man in the world die of the same thing as the most poorest man in this world. Both of the cancer. The cancer of the man on the street, dying on the side street in Delhi is no different than the cancer of the president. But do they understand each other? This is the job of the Keshe Foundation. So you got to realize we are going through a phase of completion. And when a man at my stage, at my age, moves to the next step, means the job is done. A lot of you don't have patience, you want to see, but it takes time. You lot have messed this planet for how many million years? From the day the dinosaurs died, mankind started coming out of the holes. We were there at that time, but scared in the holes. We gradually start growing in different shapes and sizes and become what we are. And now where we got to, and now we think we know everything because we just put some bricks and a bit taller. We become a bit better, what do you call it, ants making a bigger moles on the top. We haven't got as good as the ones I've seen in Africa. If you look at our size, and if you look at these animals and the height of their houses is about 1.5 to 2 meters high, and to our height compared to what we make is nothing. So we haven't advanced enough than these little things. When you drive from the gate of the Ghana Atomic to where we used to be the reactors and the factory of the Keshe Foundation, you see them. They're meter high, 2 meters high. And we built what? Maybe a few hundred meters. Take our heights and take their heights. They're more knowledgeable in construction than we are, and they must be more intelligent than us. If the size counts. Any other question? Shall we call it a day? It's nearly 3 hours.
Yes, I think that I think you've put out a lot today already. I don't think we have any outstanding questions or hands raised or otherwise right now. So pretty much covered it, Mr. Keshe. Is there any other things we should be announcing or discussing before we wrap up? We have
I have a
someone,
question.
Jalal. Thank you, Jalal.
Thank you, Rick. Hi, Mr. Cash. Good day.
I think we teach a little today, but with a lot of meaning. And it's somehow to put things right for all of us.
Mr. Cash, you hear
No,
me?
we don't make any more. We don't make any more announcements. Announcements of the Keshe Foundation is finished. As I said, any announcement by Keshe Foundation is being made by the governments. We are out of this game. The Keshe Foundation has advanced highly internationally that from now on we do not bother with what it used to be, and the people used to do what they like.
Mr. Cash?
Yes, General.
Good day, Mr. Cash. Yesterday and before yesterday, we have a discussion about what kind of material the Cup of Life for the 14 members. And I think we didn't find a good answer for it.
You mean you don't have one to copy?
We will copy, don't worry. No, because you speak about pure copper, and Armin speak about brass, and when the knowledge seekers search for it, they find the brass had lead in it, had maybe mercury in it. So even Caroline said, she said, I don't prefer to use this one, so we need to ask Mr. Cash. And until now, no one asked Mr. Cash, so I'm asking Mr. Cash.
So you put yourself on the firing line.
Yes, what can I do?
The Cup of Life, which was made for them, the core team has a structure which has a dimension of physicality. And the physical body of the man, which is your red muscle tissues, is copper. That's why we chose copper. Anything else you take or do, you can make Cup of Life from anything. Now we are making a Cup of Life what do you call it, of a new structure. And this new cup, which we asked it to be made last week, is in a different shape or form, but of a different material, but it has for a certain purpose. And it takes a long time to produce it. It's not an overnight job, as I explained in the teaching when it was presented. Cup of Life is made for the soul of the man, not for the physicality of the man. The ones which are made for the members of the core team. The same is with everything else which goes around the work of the foundation. People still look at our work is based on the work of the soul and not physicality of the man.
Is there a relationship to copper and the soul of the man? Or
It's the
is it...
soul of physicality of the man.
Right, but the soul of the man wouldn't discern between copper or lead or other elements. It wouldn't be registering maybe to the soul in that way. It just sees fields.
Soul of the man is the interaction. It's the free plasma. This is also for John. Sorry to jump in.
Okay, well, I know Mr. Kesh is tired here. Maybe we better...
No, it's just that I'm listening to what it got to be said.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just that you make a cup of life in another position in the universe with what that body, that area, or that location, that environment has led to the creation of life. And on this planet, our muscle tissues are totally based on copper. Our physicality is connected to copper. A deviation and a split of strength of the copper leads to total existence of the man. It's a simple calculation of the strength of the field. So our cup of life leads to what do you call it, the soul of the physicality. It's understanding it, is the simplicity of it.
Mr. Kesh, is Jalal asking how to make a cup of life? That's the question?
Jalal, what did you ask? He said what is made of.
What do you mean?
Not how to make it.
How to make the cup of life?
No, what is the structure of? Actually, if you think of it, the cup of life is the body of the man, if you understand it in a deeper way. It's the cup which carries the life. But all this man wants to have something tangible that he can connect itself to it. We are testing new things to be able to bring a new light, a new understanding to many of the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers. Introduction of new materials that you start looking at different dimensions and different aspects. Shall we call it a day?
Yes, you said that 3 times now, so I think we should do that.
I've had a, what do you call it? The teaching of today, very little, if you understand it, very powerful. Next week I'll introduce a new dimension teaching, hopefully. It's more in depth of understanding the soul, in more understanding the relationship between the soul of the man and the physicality of the man, more in depth with the line of what we call, a lot of you are dreaming or wishing to be able to see a flying saucer, what do you call it, a spaceship. And in a way, is that the spaceship the physicality of the man? I'll give you a very interesting example or a point. Maybe one day I come back to it, depending on how much you understand or how much I can be a good teacher, not to teach you much, let you understand yourself. This is the body of the man. Oh, it's a very thin man. We're gonna feed him a little bit. Let him become chubby man. This is his neck, this is his body, and this is his legs. And you put all the chakras wherever you put them. Now, let the man lie flat and put the same chakras in the position. Then, which spaceship would you like to fly in? And if you remember what I said about the Chinese space reactor.
That is terrific. Thank you, Mr. Cash. That was a really great surprise ending. I laughed out loud when you made that comparison. Thank you.
Yeah, but if you go back to the Chinese teaching, Chinese reactor, we decide the extent of the opening, then which part of the soul of the man, of the physicality of chakras, decide the expansion of your dimension of your soul. And why do you dream when you sleep? Maybe we open one of the Pandora boxes of the man.
Cash, can you continue, please?
No, you need to think.
This is nice.
Everything I say is nice, depends which one suits you.
Fantastic.
This is part of understanding the creation of the man. And man has not even understood this yet. Now we understand how much more man still needs to learn about himself. A happy new year to all the Iranians across this planet. For next week, hopefully we'll see you on the second day of the month. And hopefully, as the foundation has taken a new course internationally, all of us we raise to support the new movement of the Keshe Foundation, that collectively from the grassroots we start working with the governance and we bring that peace, elusive peace, to all of us. Thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Okay, very good, Mr. Kesh. Thank you very much for today's teaching. And thanks to everybody for participating and watching and listening to today's show, which has been the 267th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, March 14th, 2019. Okay, I thank you everyone, and I think we have